Hello and welcome to Reinfused. Now, Tomy are well known for making electronic products aimed at, say, a younger audience, but they're also well known for making fairly advanced products. Well, they're no Tiger Electronics, let's put it that way. Today we're looking at the Tomy Pyuta, or as it's known in the UK, the Grandstand Tutor. This is a technically 16-bit computer that kind of was really onto something, but in the end couldn't do that well because of its restricted audience. And here it is. This is the Japanese version, the Pyuta, hence the Japanese text on the keys and on the label. Although the UK Grandstand version basically looks pretty similar, obviously without the Japanese characters. It's based around a Texas Instruments TMS 9995 CPU with a Texas Instruments TMS 9918 video chip, which allows a resolution of 256 by 192 with 16 colours, and it supports 32 monochrome sprites. It has 16K of memory and 4 sound channels. Now, some of those specs might seem a little familiar if you're into retro home computers, and that's because it's pretty close to the TI-99 and various similar machines. The chips are effectively kind of slightly evolved versions of the one in that machine. And this, technically, if you know your computers, made the Pyuta a 16-bit computer. A rarity when Matsushita produced this for Tomy in 1982. The specs aren't bad, so especially for a machine with a cartridge slot. The cartridge slot negates quite a lot of the issues around having low memory, because obviously the way certainly most cartridge slots worked, and this one does, most of it is read straight from the cartridge, so it doesn't need to worry about that much onboard memory. Now, in terms of why this failed, then we'll get into those reasons after we take a little look around. So yes, it's all right. It's a wedge-based. It's quite a traditional-looking home computer, really. Very wedge-shaped. Yeah, a rubber chiclet keyboard. It's not the worst keyboard I've ever used, I'll be honest. It's pretty rapid to type on, to be fair. The cartridge slot, slightly yellowed on mine. Obviously a power LED. This, you obviously said Grandstand Tutor on the non-Tomy versions. And if we spin this around so we can see this lot. Yes, that's an I/O port. I'm not sure if anything was produced to go in there. I don't know. A controller port, that's for these beasties. So yeah, it's much like, say, like the rotary controller on the Atari. You had 2 controllers coming off of one joystick port, which is handy. They're not great controllers. These little discs things are used on a few machines, and they're never particularly great. But, you know, they do work, and they're marked controller 1 and controller 2, which is always handy. Also, we got this, which is a tape port, so you can plug in a tape recorder, composite audio and video, and an RF socket. And other than that, and the nice rocking power switch on the side, that's it. That's the machine. Pretty simple, but then it was designed, as we said, for children, really. Which, yeah, we'll get into that. So that's the reason. It's largely the reason why this machine failed, because it wasn't a bad machine. The price wasn't terrible. We'll talk about the games in a minute, but they were a pretty good proposition on this as well. So the main reason why this seems to have failed is how it was positioned in the market. Both Tomy and Grandstand advertise this as being a great kids computer. They're literally kids computer. Now, Tomy did push the games side of it quite a bit, and we'll see a big example of that in a minute. But this still effectively locked it into that market, and not particularly high spending market, that one. So yeah, instead of making it like a home computer for the family, it really did kind of say, you know, if you want to get a second computer for your kids, this is the one. And it wasn't, although it was cheap, it wasn't cheap enough for that. Now, yeah, so as we said, Tomy did realise that the games aspect was important. So a year later, in 1983, they released this. The Pyuta Junior. And this, as you can probably see here, is effectively a consoleized version of the Tomy Pyuta. And it can still use tapes, because there was some tape software for it. and the controllers are the same, although you can obviously get this joystick, as we can see. And of course it ran the same software, which was good because at this point there were quite a few decent arcade ports on this machine. Let's unbox this, shall we? Want to take a little look at it. Let's put this to one side. And we'll talk about the good and bad of this machine. So we can just pull the unit out here. This one is very yellowed. So, yeah, very, very yellowed. We've got the controllers for it, which are substantially less yellowed than my other ones, so that's pretty good. The manual, again, still kind of has that kiddie aspect to it. And let's take the machine out of this plastic and have a little look. Has the tape glued to itself in the I haven't tried this machine yet. Haven't got around to it. But the first thing we'll notice is that the back is much simpler. For some reason, they've got rid of the composite port, which that doesn't feel like that was a good decision, but okay, maybe their market research said it wasn't important. So this is now just RF, although obviously we can get composite from it because it's the same, basically the same machine. So the controller port's now at the front, still the same controllers though, and same dual use, so that's good. And we still have the rocker switch at the front, this time at the front for the power. On a model number, TP 2001. But yeah, all of this is much simplified. So instead of a whole keyboard, we've just got a few keys. So I guess these are the ones that they found were most used by programs. The monitor, I guess, gets into the actual program monitor, I assume. But yeah, it's a much simplified machine. If we put it next to its bigger brother, remove this stuff. So yeah, just the controls going down. That's fine. So there we go. Yes, much smaller, much more compact, and very much games led compared to the actual main Pyuta. Now about those games, we were saying about that. So there were quite a few arcade conversions. I only have one game for this, but there were several. So this is a version of Scramble, particular favourite of mine, and this is not a bad version all in all. This doesn't do hardware scrolling, and that's very, very evident, and you'll see that when we play this game in a minute. But yeah, obviously, like I say, they use the same cartridges, which just makes sense, of course. And yeah, the same controllers. But yeah, you could get that joystick controller apparently, which I don't have. I probably won't bother looking for it either. But a good option at least, because those disc controllers are not the best. Right. Well, we should probably just try playing a game then. Which will be on this one, because this one's got composite and is much easier to get a picture out of than this one, which has only got RF. But the experience would be the same, so it doesn't matter. Right. See you in a minute. Right, here we are at the boot screen. So if we push return, now we can use the arrow keys to go down to the bottom, and this last option is the actual. Actually, should we go? Up is not working. Only down does. Interesting. I think that's normal. Yeah, we'll go to basic first. G basic, which I think means like graphic basic. I don't know if. Oh no! Oh, blimey. Okay, we have to hold a key down. There we go. Now does this... Nope. So I don't know if it's even going to work in English. I guess we'll find out. You have to hold a key down to get the non-Japanese characters. Now, is that the same key? Nope, that's not the same key for that. So is it that key? That is that key, right. Oh, no, same for that. Yep. I don't know if that's good or not. 20. assuming that was an error, so this probably doesn't work. Oh, maybe not. Okay, hold on there. Let's try run. So I guess, yeah. So you can't program. I wonder if you could change the role on this. I'll probably have to find that out. Right. So let's stop that. Let's reset. All right. So here we are back at the welcome screen. Let's push return again, and this time we'll not play silly buggers, and we'll go to the third option, which is the cartridge, and then that should boot up. There we go. So we need to tell this to start. As one player. Don't know what SL and SR are, but that's left or right-handed, possibly. So here we go. And yeah, there are two buttons, but I think they're the same, but they're literally left and right-handed. Although, why would they? I don't know. You know what? I don't know. It's not a terrible game of Scramble by any means. It plays quite well. But yeah, the scrolling is jerky because it is missing that hardware scrolling, unfortunately. But yeah, still not terrible. It's quite colourful. All the features are there. Like we say, they're monochrome sprites, so each thing that's got more than one colour is basically a separate sprite. So the starship, which has lots of coloured bits, is completely a set of sprites rather than just one. So yeah, not bad. Anyway, it works. I do have to get more games for this because it's kind of cool. I will look into that, and I guess I should really look into trying to get the tapes working as well, because that's always kind of nice to have working. But anyway, we'll just blow up this one last oil thing, if we can hit it. Hey, and we can. There we go. Right. Let's wrap up. And there we have it. If nothing else, it's an interesting machine. Every time I use that keyboard, actually, it's slightly less bad than I remember it being from the time before. In terms of the little kind of chiclet rubber keyed keyboards, it probably is one of the best, to be honest. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you like the video, please hit like. If you really like the video, please hit subscribe. If you didn't like the video or you have something else to say, then please leave it in the comments below. And yeah, you can join our membership thing on YouTube or on Patreon if you want to support us and help us make more videos. And the bell icon thing, yeah, you got to push the bell icon thing somewhere down here. Anyway, see you next time.
The present is horrible, the future looks bleak. Remember our childhood to get us through the week. We're getting re-enthused, back to the past and the things we used. We all know that our pasts were great, escaping the things that today we hate. Getting re-enthused, getting re-enthused, getting re-enthused, getting re-enthused.